Guys, I am so excited to be back and doing this video. I have missed YouTube so much, even though I only had like a few videos out. It has been a super busy summer shooting all the rest of my weddings. I took some behind the scenes of a few weddings this year, kind of brought you guys along just to see how I do things, how I prepare for the day, how do you get some pretty stunning images. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can get the perfect candid shots. A lot of my style is very natural, very candid, very playful. A lot of it is just the client's natural expression. But I just want to encourage you to take things a step further and think about the environment before you start getting your clients' candid reactions. So as you all know, one of the things that I like to do before the wedding day even takes place is I plan the wedding day for the couple, so I know what the day is going to look like and at what times I'm going to be taking certain pictures for the client, so that when I get to either the getting ready space, I am more so thinking about being intentional in where I'm going to place the client at certain different moments of the day. One of the other hats that you're gonna wear as a wedding photographer is you're also going to be a moving crew. What I mean by that is you are going to be moving things out of the way. You're gonna be cleaning stuff up in the area. In my early years of being just a second photographer, I was very lucky enough to shadow and see how another photographer worked, and I would see how she would just like move everything out of a specific room or a scene so that she could properly document the client, and it just made like the space look so much prettier. There would be other times when I would be second shooting for friends who had also graduated from photography school at the same time that I did. And obviously they, this was maybe their like first, second wedding, and I was going to help them. And I did notice how like they didn't go and take things out of the space. So, sometimes you'll see like a makeup bag or just like robes or clothes that are kind of messy, and it's kind of hard to get rid of that after, right? So yeah, one of the things with getting those perfect candid moments is just being intentional and realizing that, okay, like these type of photos, it's more so going to matter about the emotion. It's like if you think of photography, okay, I'm going off on a tangent, but if you think of photography like a triangle, you have like the three major points. You've got your composition of how you frame the photo, you've got your lighting, and you've got your expression. And most of the time you're not going to hit all three of those points, but in order to get a really good strong image, you're going to want to at least hit two of those points, whether that be the emotional side and how you frame things, or the emotional side and how the lighting is, or how you frame things and how the lighting is, but maybe it's not like the most perfect expression. So yeah, those are that's, I don't know, I guess kind of how like my brain works when I'm on a wedding day, is just realizing that I have to hit like 2 out of 3 of those points. So one of the things that is in your control is how the environment looks in terms of the tidiness of it or the cleanliness of it. Oftentimes, I can't even tell you how many times I've gone to a person's house and borrowed Windex, cleaned some of the glass, or clean things. I mean, most of the time these are people's homes, and sometimes little things like that get forgotten. But if you go and take pictures, with a mirror and it's got a lot of dust on it, it's gonna show up in your camera after. You're not gonna be able to get rid of that. And sometimes we are limited to, you know, how the space is, how small it is, where's the window lighting. In this case that I want to kind of show you one of the weddings that I photographed, especially after I went and put all the bridesmaids dresses up, I did lose quite a few stops of light. And there was a tiny little window on the side where I had planned to do that corner for like the bride with her mother, and then her doing any last minute makeup shots over there. It was just enough space to have a few people, and it turned out absolutely beautiful. But a lot of what can happen is it's just easy to go to where the bride was. She was in a completely different room. You know, there were makeup bags all over the place. There were just things everywhere that it would have looked very messy. And I think that a lot of times when we're first starting out, we're thinking, oh, well, I'm gonna document the day exactly as it is. And that's a great thing, because you're not gonna go and move things around when it comes to the ceremony. You're stuck where the ceremony is. Do you know what I mean? So there's some things that are out of your control, like where the ceremony location is. And this is why it's very important to have a timeline and talk about these things with the client, because if they say, I want to get my getting ready photos, they have to be done in this room because it's very special to me, well then you just have to kind of plan around either moving things in that space. But if they say like, oh, this is just where I'm getting like my hair and makeup done, but I would really like to have my pictures look really great for those makeup touch-up shots, or for me looking into the mirror, then you kind of know that you have control. You're able to be assertive and go in and pick a completely different place and make sure that it looks aesthetically nice. And that's exactly what happened with this wedding here. This is the spot that I chose to go and do the makeup shots, and it would have been completely different if I had decided to keep it in the other room that, you know, where everything was. So yeah, I think that that's like one of the things that's important to know, to the secret to having some really great candid shots. And then of course, once you get your subject, you know, I had the bride and I had her mother in the perfect lighting situation that I needed. I just coached them through some very like easy things, like, hey mom, like this is your baby girl, she's getting married, like this is special, and you know, you're putting on a special heirloom hair piece on her that you had worn for your wedding. And it just got like super emotional for both the mom and the daughter, and then we were able to get these beautiful soft photos. This other wedding that I had done, it was a very similar situation where this was the bride's bedroom, and she didn't live at home anymore, so the bedroom had been repurposed to either some sort of reading room or something, and had furniture in it. And as soon as I had seen the space, I was like, okay, I know that this is where the bride wants to get her dress on. What can I do to really make the space look really nice? Well, I wasn't about to leave that big gray couch in there because it would have been a distraction from her. So I had my assistant and her father take it out of the room. And yes, it was very awkward to take it out of the room in terms of like, we had to move a whole piece of furniture out. And then I had found this like mirror somewhere, and I was like, this mirror is perfect. Like, it's gonna make the room look a little bit bigger. It's gonna be getting some great, you know, reflections in it. I'm gonna place it right where it's perfect for the lighting, so that while mom is getting the bride's dress on, I can get the bride's reflection. So that's exactly what happened with this as well. And when the bride had requested her sister and her mother to have a photo with her, once again, I just placed them in a part of the room where the light was great and where I knew that I was going to be getting these emotional expressions, and I just kind of helped coach them and to get them there, telling them things like close your eyes, look at each other, hold hands, and just like think about the day. And that's how you get those type of shots. Moving on to the wedding party. I know it sounds like super weird, but just going ha 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 will eventually get your candid laughs.
Honestly, doing ha ha ha's just like gets those candid smiles.
Yeah, And that's how we get the candid laughs for the wedding party. And then a lot of the times what I like to do with wedding party is pose them in a nice way. I usually don't like to pose them in a straight line. I like to either stagger them. If we are on like a flat field, I'll do like maybe like 1 or 2 photos where they're in a straight line, but it kind of gets old. So it's nice to be able to stagger them, like putting them in pairs and then just kind of moving them in a way that you can really get a nice sort of depth. Yeah, so that's what I like to do with the wedding party. And then of course, when each one of the married couple goes off with their set of friends, I have the friends go and do either something funny with, you know, their best friend, or do the ha-ha-has, which would go and get a lot of those candid laughs. It's very strategic, even though it is a very candid thing. Like, you can't really go and force somebody's natural smile, but the more you get to know them, you know, after you do a few consultations or you talk with them, you'll see how they look at each other and how they smile at each other. You'll know what the real smile looks like and what their real expression looks like. So just making sure that they have fun and they're laughing, there's gonna be no problem with you getting some candid moments. It would just be ideal to make sure that if you have the expression, that you're either taking it with either good lighting or you're taking it with like a nice environment. If you can, aim to hit all 3 of those major points that I had talked about earlier, even better. But if not, you at least want 2 out of the 3. And there you have it. So that's what I do to get the perfect candid moments on a wedding day. And speaking about weddings, I wanted to talk about what's in my bag. What do I take to every wedding? What's the bare minimum you should take? I used to take a set of studio lights with me and have so much gear. And I don't know, as the years have gone by, I feel like I've been taking less and less and less. And I've been able to still, I don't want to use the word get away with. I find that like technology is just obviously getting better, and you're able to have things that are a lot more mobile and easier to move around. For instance, bringing a set of studio lights, you're really kind of limited to plugging them in. You can't just go and like take them from one end of the room and take them to another. So I usually use this guy right here. It is the Godox 860. And this is the flash that I had told you about that I'm absolutely in love with. It's only a few $100s. And I literally paid a lot more for my Canon versions, and they're not as powerful, they're not as quick as this. I have to have rechargeable, I think it's like AA, and they just don't, they're slow to popping. And I have the 430s, the second or the third version, like the newest 430s that you have, and they're not as good as this. So the other thing that I like to use with this, that was a little bit more of an investment, but a total worth it investment. So this I just got at my local camera store. It is a professional flash kit. Let's see if we can, there we go. So it's a professional flash kit. It's only like, I guess it was like $280 Canadian, and it came with all these goodies. It came with a grid. Basically, you can go and have different colors to change the lights on it, which I've never done that. And then it's got the, I believe it's called the Meg Sphere, and it just clips on like this. And then this here with the grid attached to it, it allows for, I use that like for every reception photo just to give it a very nice dramatic look. It focuses the attention kind of like all in the middle instead of dispersing things quite wide. If I do want to have things dispersed a little bit more, I'll either bring an umbrella, just because an umbrella will disperse the light, obviously. But that is my go-to lighting system that I will use instead of huge studio lights. And that lighting has saved my butt so much. Also, the batteries last forever. And I'm talking about like you could just shoot that thing on one battery from like start to finish and probably do 2 wedding days on one. I've never tried. doing that on one battery, but obviously I like to use this as off-camera flash. So I like to have a trigger, and my lighting is super simple. I just have things on eTTL, and I play with my aperture and I play with my ISO. If you're super new to lighting and you don't know too much about what I just said, maybe that'll be a video for another day and another time. You can let me know. I'm dyslexic, so I have a hard time with learning. What I would teach would be very, very simplified. But yeah, so that's basically what I like to bring in my bag. I also like to bring a set of balloons for the morning. If you know, like for the bride's dress, I like to prop it up so that it looks really pretty in the photos and it's not two-dimensional or doesn't fall flat. And then I also ask the clients to give me a couple of sets of invitations. I bring my own ring boxes as well. I talk with the clients ahead of time and ask them what colors that they're wearing for their wedding. I also let them know that I bring ring boxes. We have this conversation so that if they wanted to use something that's sentimental to them, then we would use their ring boxes. Like for an example, Michael Hill has a very, very purple ring box, and it doesn't match everybody's color scheme. So to prop the ring up, you know, we would often like to go and put it in flowers as one option, but I also like to kind of have it in a ring box in addition to having like a nice flat lace. So yeah, that would be an example of why I would bring a ring box. And then I also like to bring lint rollers in case anybody's got stuff on them. It's a lot easier to just quickly go with a lint roller and take off any type of pet hair, anything like that, than it is to go in Photoshop, take out those little things. So yeah, I hope that that helps you if you are starting your journey in photography, and please feel free to follow along for more videos on how-tos when it comes to being a wedding photographer and being a studio photographer business owner. Speaking of studios, next week I'm going to be setting up this week. Oh my goodness, where is time going? This week I'm going to be setting up my studio for Christmas. I know it's early, but people are already starting to ask about Christmas, so I'm gonna be setting up the studio to look picture perfect for Christmas photos, and yeah, I'll show you a little more on that. Bye!